Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community and neighborhoods. And now from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Hey, it's March 21st. Spring has definitely sprung.
Yes, it has.
And all of a sudden, we sort of take off our glasses and daylight savings time kicked in a few weeks ago and everything is bright and cheery and everyone's looking forward to the spring and summer season. And it's a time to reflect a little bit on Southern Pines, Pinehurst area, Aberdeen, and how much the music culture in Moore County has grown and grown over the years, and how the demographics have shifted, and it's become a cultural hub, so to speak. We've always been fortunate to have musical guests on the show in the past, but not anyone like my guest, Ron Huff. Ron is born and raised here in Moore County, and Ron, not due to his advanced age, which is where I am, but his perspective probably is better than anyone we've ever had on the show in talking about musical events, the musical scene here, where it was, where it is today. Plus, he has an interesting story to tell about himself. So, Ron, I want to say good morning.
Good morning.
And
how are you doing, Bill?
Good. And we're going to get you closer to that
Okay.
microphone, which
All right.
I should have told you. And
Is that good?
yeah, it sounds good. Your voice is great. First thing that I did after I spoke with you on the phone, I mentioned to Dee Shaw, who has worked as an administrator with me for the last 23 or so years. Just a few weeks ago, we had a show with Rob Hill, Torrin Wright, and Chris Dunn.
Right.
And we had a show where we were remembering Chris Shaw, who passed away in December, who you knew and played with.
Yes.
And Dee said to me, Bill, Ron's going to know everybody. Your background in music was not your vocation, but your passion.
Right.
But you've had tell me a little bit about yourself, your career, what you did, what you do, and how music has sort of been a common theme over 40, 50 years?
More than that.
More than that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, first, let me correct one thing.
Yep.
I was definitely born in Moore County in Pinehurst.
Okay.
But I was raised and still live in this side of Hoke County.
Okay.
And I went to school in Rayford.
Okay.
So I sort of lived a double life. We were closer to Moore County, and we did a lot of our business and met folks in both areas. But I actually went to school in Hoke County and still
okay.
live in Hoke County,
Okay.
but only 5 miles from Aberdeen.
There are places in Hoke County that are closer to southern Moore County, closer than some of the places in northern Moore County. So
Right.
you're actually, proximity-wise, you're very close.
Yes, very close.
Yeah, and you have a lot of relationships here.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody you don't know in the music field.
Well, I know a lot of folks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of the folks that I know are no longer here. But, and I've been lucky enough over the last few years to become friends with a lot of the younger musicians.
Right.
And so I really expanded that quite a bit, which is great. Now I find myself interacting with them in several different ways, performances, benefits, and lots of different things like that. Music's timeless and ageless, at least as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I know a few musicians around.
You started playing music at a very young age?
Yeah, I'll say this, and I really mean it. I'm a born musician.
Okay.
In other words, before I could barely walk or talk, music would just grab me.
Right.
And I mean, it went straight to my heart. So I knew at an early age that the first thing I wanted to do when I could was learn to play music. At that time, it wasn't the easiest thing to do. You could not, nowhere around here that I knew of would anyone teach you piano before the age of 8.
Right.
So when I was 8, that's when I started classical piano training, and did that for years. Then when just like a lot of other people, I was always into popular music, but when the Beatles hit, that just kind of flipped a switch, and suddenly everybody else around was
Right.
interested in playing.
Right.
We started our first band down in Hoke County when I was about 14. By the time I was 15, we were playing publicly. And by the time I was 16, I was playing in Moore County. So, I mean, it's always been a part of my life. But when it came to education,
Right.
I somehow knew or felt that I did not want to go to college to be a musician. I wanted to do something more practical.
Uh-huh.
So I went to NC State as an engineer, which is one of the greatest things I ever did. It interrupted my music just a little bit, and it also gave me something to fall back on, because music, some people have a knack for really making money at it. I just have a knack for playing it, and I'm not a self-promoter. So I've always used it as a sideline and a point of joy and a social center,
Right.
and that's permeated my life, my whole life.
You remind me of Frankie Valli in the movie Jersey Boys, when he said at the time that the Four Seasons were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in the movie, the line that he came out was with, "There was always the music."
Right.
Through the highs and the lows and the troubles that they had and the financial issues, there was always the music. So you had a career that was not as a professional musician. Is that correct?
There were short periods of times where I considered myself a professional musician.
Okay.
Particularly when in the late 80s, and this had a lot to do with a lot of different things, the economy, but in 1980, I found myself moving to Atlanta to play music. Circumstances were that a few friends had moved there. They were starting a band, so I moved there.
Uh-huh.
It just took a leap, and
Faith, yeah.
did that full time for a couple of years, and long enough to reaffirm the fact that it just wasn't going to do it for me financially. There was nothing much you could do. I was actually quite successful in Atlanta for what I was doing. We quickly became a good club band and one of the best in the next 2 or 3 years. But even then, the money was so scarce, everything was unpredictable, the economy was bad, and finally I said, I've had enough. I'm never gonna quit playing music, but I'm gonna go back to being an engineer.
Well, you must have gotten out of NC State in the early 70s.
73.
73.
Yeah.
So you had that engineering degree.
Right.
And you were able to pivot at that time, and you made a decision. But there was always the music. Even though you pivoted away, you never left the circle that you're still in today.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
That's right. I'm always looking for the next thing in music, whether it's listening, playing, whatever.
You
always front.
mentioned the younger musicians that are in town now, and that you play with and get to know, and they keep you young, don't they?
Yes.
And spirited.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they often don't realize, as I didn't realize when I was much younger, that, the older guys, they've been around. They know some stuff.
Right.
And they know a lot of stuff that you don't know.
Right.
And the smart players, will try to glean some of that knowledge, and they understand that, this guy might be older, but we're all doing the same thing. Yeah. So it's gratifying, to be able to play with folks of all ages.
You mentioned the Beatles and what that did to people's mindset. And if I'm looking at some of your notes, you actually toured and backed up Billy Joel. Is that? No.
Okay, did I miss? Billy Joe Royal.
I'm sorry, Billy Joe Royal.
Yeah, and these,
And Joe South.
Yeah, I didn't tour with them, but I did back them up.
Gotcha.
In a concert down in Georgia, and they were pretty good friends with some of my friends from down there. So they just weren't around very much, but I was able to play with them, and that was a thrill.
Over the years, all the experiences you've had in the musical field, they form lifelong relationships, right? There's a kinship there that's hard to beat.
For sure.
You keep them all these years, right? And you could probably tell stories till the sun goes down.
Probably will.
You probably will, right?
Well, I'll say one, for instance.
Yep.
When I was a kid, my parents would go to a club down near Rockingham called Hernando's Hideaway.
Uh-huh.
And there was a band there called Troy and the Viscos.
Okay.
And Troy Richardson, Troy's son Tony, and I got to know each other when we were in high school. And we played on and off throughout the years, and he still, I call him the godfather of rock and roll in Moore County.
Is that right?
He's still playing all the time, and we still play and get, so there's a life, there's a long one right there.
At the time you moved to Atlanta in 1980, I had just been introduced to Moore County in the summer of 1979. I was 4 years out of college. And other than I'll call it a speakeasy, there was not a whole lot of entertainment in Southern Pines at that time, or Pinehurst for that matter, that wasn't related to golf. But from that time to today, oh my gosh, what a change. And you were there at the time you were maybe 28, 29,
yep.
1980. And you got a chance to see the progression of how these three towns, including Aberdeen, have changed and have morphed into this very quaint and yet cultured community of the arts.
Right.
Crazy.
Well, you were looking in the wrong place in 1979.
Where was I? Where should I have looked?
Oh, man, we were kicking up the dust over in Southern Pines.
Were you?
Yeah, the Jefferson Inn.
Okay.
Okay, the Jefferson Inn back there was under different management.
Okay.
And this was in the days when, disco was dying.
Right.
And jazz rock fusion was coming on.
Yeah.
And they had just gotten liquor by the drink in this county.
Okay.
And that started the music, kick-started the music back then.
Okay.
And I had a band called Loose Shoes, and we played jazz, rock, but pretty sophisticated stuff.
Right.
And I mean, it was like a zoo. We would play down there 2 or 3 nights a week, and I mean, you couldn't cram another body into that place.
Is that right?
Yeah, and there were, across the street, the Capri had been, which became the Tea and Tack, which is now something totally different.
Right.
But there were a few venues right around that time, but it wasn't like now.
Do you remember in the 80s, there was a Holiday Inn on Highway 1 that had a nightclub? Was it live music?
Well,
I don't.
Okay. They had live music on and off for a long time. They had a club in there called J. Albert's.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Did you ever
played,
play there?
Yeah, I played there.
Okay.
Yeah, we were. This is one of those musical stories. We had put together a little band. We were gonna maybe do kind of a little house thing there, and Tony Richardson was involved in this. And so I said, well, we're going to call ourselves the Jaybirds at J. Albert's.
Right.
Well, it lasted one gig. They didn't advertise it. It's just one of those whim things that didn't work out. But, yeah.
How many instruments do you play?
Well, I'm basically a keyboard player.
Okay.
But I play guitar. I play bass guitar. And lots of different kind of percussion instruments.
Okay.
Any keyboard instrument, pretty much.
Okay.
And,
we're gonna come back in the second set. Our guest for the entire hour is Ron Huff, who has a unique perspective on the music scene here in Moore County, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And all I have to do is recall some of the past shows we've had in the last year or two, people that you know. So we're privileged to have you. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. Our guest is Ron Huff, who's a local musician, but he's so much more than that. He was an engineer. I understand you worked at Hobbs and Upchurch for a time.
Yes, I did. I worked there, and then I went into the development business,
Right.
building business with my older brother.
That's right.
And spent 20 years at that.
Right.
So I've had like 3 or 4 long careers.
It's really funny. If you look in the paper these days, you see there are 2 things of note that have come up. In the next couple of weeks, Sheena Easton is going to be here performing at the college.
I didn't realize that.
She's coming, I want to say it's March the 27th. She's on tour. And I remember growing up listening in college and after that to Sheena Easton. She was great. And then this summer at the Sunrise Theater, Judy Collins is going to be here.
Wow.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, boy, I caught you.
I get the news. Tim's got so much news coming out these days.
We had Tim, he was on the show back late in 2025, and it seems like the Sunrise Theater, which is an integral part of the community, has been doing a makeover, so to speak, and they're starting to feature a lot more musical events, perhaps compared to movie events, because they're reacting to the change in demand and what people want. And the Sunrise Theater was a big part of your experience here in Moore County.
Well, the Sunrise Theater's where I saw my very first movie, which was the 10 Commandments.
Okay.
And I was just a school kid.
Right.
And my mom just drove to school, which was 2 miles from the house. And she took me and my brother out of school. We didn't have any idea. She said, we're going to the movies. I said, oh, boy.
Right.
And that's what it was. We came over and saw the 10 Commandments.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And, I've performed there several times. And recently.
Some of the benefit concerts that they've had, or...
They had a blues event.
The Blues Crawl.
They didn't have it this past year, but the year before.
Right.
I was pretty intimately involved in that.
Right.
Backed up several of I was actually in what they considered the backup band for the whole event. Backed up a few of the folks. And then more recently, I played at the MOCO Rising, where Tim put together a lot of local entertainment, and that was great. Julia Golden, the young girl who's really doing well, performed at that. Isaiah, what's Isaiah's last name? Another great singer. We did a set of some different stuff. Yeah.
Did you happen to see Julia on TV about a week or so ago?
I haven't seen her, but I heard that she was on, and so I'm going to try to catch the next one.
You can actually go to YouTube and catch her on it. She advanced.
Great.
She had a speaking part where they personalized her a little bit, and she hails from Carthage, and she's well known around these parts. And there she was, and it was a show called The Voice. I think that's what it was.
I believe so.
And she advanced. However, that the procedure works, the process works with that show. So it was great to see some local talent. But there's some. I mean, there are people like Janet Kenworthy, Baxter Clement that you know.
Right.
Janet had been a guest on our show. Oh gosh, I'm going to say about 10 years ago.
Right.
Did she still had the Rooster's Wife at that time?
Yes.
In Aberdeen.
Yeah.
And then she decided to retire, and she sold it.
Yes.
But that was and it still is a venue that people go to.
Well, it's not an active venue at this point.
Okay.
Derek Numbers bought it, and he did have it open as an active venue for a while, and I played there a bunch of times. They also had regular blues jams, and I played there with a larger band called Power Play. I mean, we did a featured night down there one night.
Okay.
But for various reasons, he decided he didn't want to have it as a public venue anymore, or at least not for a while. I think he still has it set up as a recording area.
Gotcha.
And I did a feature show down there with a guy called Eddie 9-Volt, who he's becoming a national name.
What's his name?
Eddie 9-Volt.
Okay.
Which was great.
That's a stage name, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay. I
Mr. 9-Volt.
Right.
But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jonathan Robinson, John Martin, and Baxter played bass on that show.
Okay.
They videoed it. It's great. That's on YouTube.
Is that right?
Yeah, you can go to Eddie 9-Volt Casino Guitars.
What a name. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. He's really good.
Is he local? Is he from the area?
No, he's from the Atlanta area.
Okay. Tell me about the role that Janet Kenworthy had in the music scene here in Moore County.
Well, I love Janet. She's a very good friend. And I knew her before the Rooster's Wife. And she just, this was at the time when house concerts were becoming a thing.
Right.
I'd never been to one. It was a brand new thing. Janet and Jake owned a historical house over in Aberdeen. Beautiful big house. And Janet just decided she was going to start having some house concerts. And I was at the very first one, and many after that. But she just had an uncanny ability to get great talent, not only local talent, but major talent.
Right.
She was able to get some grants, and she was able to get these folks coming through from one gig to the next. All of her shows were on Sunday night.
That's right.
So that's why. And that's why I didn't go to as many of them as I should have, because Sundays are kind of off day for me. But I tell you, I saw some fantastic talent at the Rooster's Wife. I mean, unbelievable. I'll be forever grateful to her for doing that.
Where is she now?
She's living in Charleston, as far as I'm almost positive.
Okay. You know, I listen to music a lot. I love music. I've been to many concerts over the years. And for the same reasons that people are drawn to Moore County, because it reminds them of the places they grew up in as kids, whether it be from the Northeast or the Midwest, I sense there is such a nostalgic remembrance of the music of the 60s and the 70s that it's getting stronger. different revival shows are being made into movies. People are going back, and I see kids today in their 20s and 30s listening to the Beatles, listening to some of the groups that we grew up with as kids.
Right.
They recognize how good the music was.
Yes.
So in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, to me, and I'll show you my ignorance perhaps, I'm going to say not so much, that it was just sort of going through different phases and stages, but may not have the same legs that the music of the 60s and the 70s had.
Well, music over the years has become highly devalued, at least from the perspective of young folks.
Right.
Now, when I was a kid, music was it. I mean, if you didn't have a record, you played records, or you listened to a car radio, or you watched one of the two channels on TV.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
As time went on, I mean, when I was a young adult, our entertainment was we'd just go home and listen to albums.
That's right.
Everybody had a decent stereo. Everybody collected albums, and that's what we did.
They had turntables.
Exactly. I still do. I just bought a new one.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. But, I've got like 1,300 vinyl albums.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, at least. So it's not dead. But, and then when music became available on the mass media and you could steal the music, you didn't have to buy the music, it became devalued.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what's happened. Although there's always great music being made by great players at all times. But how it gets to the public and how the public reacts to it and how they value it has changed greatly over the years.
Back when you went to Atlanta, 1980, that was about the time that CDs came out, compact discs.
Right.
And I remember my cousin, he collected vinyl records.
Right.
To this day, he still does. He said to me, the least expensive CD player can recreate music better than the most expensive turntable. Mm-hmm. And when he had a CD player in his car and I heard my first CD, my jaw dropped. Mm-hmm. Because I was a kid that would go out and buy a stereo system, and you had three components. You had the receiver, you had the speakers, and you had the turntable.
Right. And
you had so many choices, and you would micromanage the turntable that you would buy because you would think, because became more and more advanced, and then CDs came and just sort of made that obsolete a little bit.
Well, there are some people who would fight you
on that.
On the fact that CD players are better, reproduce mm-hmm. better than a turntable. Mm-hmm. But I've been on both sides of that I'm not going to fight about it.
Right.
Vinyl records were the best thing available.
Yep, I hear that.
And they, mm-hmm. when they were well kept, well manufactured, and well produced,
right,
they're awesome.
Right.
But you can't, you got to handle them with kid gloves. You got to take care of them.
Right.
But some audiophiles will swear that there's no way you can get that kind of reproduction digitally, which is what a CD is.
Right, and I've heard that too.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the remote fireplace that's so much more convenient than the old wood fireplace. But that changed music. And today, it's... You go on YouTube, you can go and listen to anything from any era. You listen to Sirius XM radio.
I do it all the time.
Stations by decades. Mm-hmm. And so there's so much more exposure to period music that I don't remember having in the past. And I go through my Facebook page and I get doo-wop concerts that pop up and this and that.
Right.
All these songs we grew up with. The Ronettes. You go back and there's so many. So I don't play piano, but I just feel close to music. You've got to feel even closer.
Well, this is a pretty good segue. One thing I did want to talk about a little bit was the vanishing. You know, the older music that is now harder. You can get it on radio if you seek it. It's out there.
Right.
No problem. You can pull it up and stream it at any minute. But you don't know what it is if you've never heard it.
Right.
And the younger folks have not really been exposed to so much of the music that meant and still means so much to us.
Right.
Now I'm going to put in a plug here. The band that I'm currently working in most of the time is really a duo, and that's another whole story about duos and single acts as opposed to bands. But we're called Heart and Soul, and we will add additional players as the money will allow, but the problem is the money won't allow it.
Right.
And this is the devaluation of music.
Right.
We would often play back in the old days. It was almost, you would almost always pay a cover charge to
That's
go
right.
in and hear a band. Well,
That's right.
now,
That's right.
you know, people don't want to pay a cover charge to hear a band.
Right.
They'll pay $15 for a drink, but they don't want to pay $5 for a cover charge. And that devaluation has caused a ripple effect. Well, we're still out there doing it, and I'm literally singing some of the same tunes now that I sang as a 15-year-old. Same, and people love it. And, you know, people our age, of course, they really identify with it.
Exactly.
But when the younger folks come out and hear what we do,
Right.
their ears perk up
Yeah.
because it's real.
Right.
You know, it's got roots. And, you know.
We're gonna come back in the third set. I'm gonna throw out the names of some of the groups that I still listen to today.
Okay.
When Elton John came out in 1971 with his first album, I was in high school.
Right.
And to this day, I listen to Elton John, and his music sounds as good today as it did 50 years ago.
We probably do 4 Elton John tunes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they're great.
Let's come back.
Okay.
Ron Huff is our guest. We're talking all about the music scene in Moore County. This is All Things Moore County. Welcome back to All Things Moore County, talking with Ron Huff of Ron Huff Musical Productions, and his perspective on the music scene here, growing up in the music business, and it's been a lifelong passion. So you've got me by just a couple of years, but I mean, we grew up listening to probably the same artists,
Right.
Simon and Garfunkel,
Sure.
James Taylor, Jim Croce. I mean, there were so many, Billy Joel, so many, the Beatles. And today I drive by Red's Corner.
Right.
And it could be where they have a musical event going on. And what do I hear? A James Taylor song or a Simon and Garfunkel song. I mean,
Right.
So some of the younger generation, they've recognized that the quality. Elton John, we were talking about. I mean, I was in high school when his first album came out, and I listened to a couple of those songs, and I thought, oh my God, this is like nothing I've ever heard before. It was so good. His music stands up today.
Sure.
Even Barry Manilow. I mean,
Yeah.
he's in his 80s.
Oh, man.
And people still, they want to hear some. There's a connection with music and memory, just like there is with sense.
Right.
And growing up, different things we associate with. And we all have a very strong connection to music, as you do. Did you listen to, who else did you listen to
Oh, my gracious.
that you still pattern yourself or influenced by?
Well, when I was, that question could go on forever. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
all of the artists I guess the late 50s is when I
Yep.
really started. Once the late 50s hit, anything that ever hit the top 10,
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
and can play most of it because I've heard it so many times.
Right.
So that was a myriad.
Yep.
That also included in this area, there's a big southern, all the soul and R&B from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Memphis, Tennessee,
right,
Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
There was music that came out of there that didn't. It was widespread, but we played a lot of that stuff, and that's a lot of my favorite music that still carries on.
Right.
I mean, you go Wilson Pickett.
Yeah.
All of those guys, Booker T and the MGs, Otis Redding, all of the soul folks. That's just a part of my DNA.
Jackie Wilson.
It goes on and on and on.
Right.
But and then the Motown stuff, of course, all of that stuff.
Right.
It's just,
we grew up at a great time, and
oh yeah.
I remember fighting with my father, who was a singer. He was a tenor, and he actually performed in nightclubs where Tony Bennett and Frank Sinatra performed. But, the realities of the financial realities, you have a family with 4 kids. He couldn't pursue a career, but he always would sing. So we would always argue about the quality of the music, his time versus my time.
Right.
But if he were alive today, I think he would look back and see some of these great groups of the 60s and 70s and go, yeah, they were better than we thought.
Sure.
Right?
And one thing I find, as I get older, I go in both directions.
Uh-huh.
I'm constantly going back further than I ever have and discovering new things from artists that I didn't even know existed. Not only artists that I didn't know existed, but repertoire of those artists, which I just never have heard. Now, you mentioned Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
I've got bunch of records.
Paul Anka.
Paul Anka's great. Guys are all great.
Right.
But I've never spent, because that wasn't cool. When we were in high school, that was not cool.
That's right.
Soul was cool. British Invasion was cool.
That's correct. You're right.
All of the stuff from California, the Wrecking Crew, played on the Beach Boys. All of those guys were cool. So then as time goes on, well, it doesn't have to be quite as cool as it used to be. Now it's got to be as good, And we had plenty to listen to, so it wasn't like we were shunning anything else. It's just that these things were what were interesting us more at the time.
I remember liking Jay and the Americans when I was in junior high school and high school, and getting teased mercilessly from the kids in school who liked the cooler music. And I liked Jay Black and Caramia and some of those songs.
Yeah.
And you listen on YouTube today and you watch some of these tribute bands and such, honor them. Their music was great.
Sure.
It was great. So you and your partner, you're a duo at this point, but you are performing in and around Moore County these days, and
yes.
And there are lots of things you can do if you and people can reach you. You have a Facebook page?
I do have a Facebook page. It's just Ron Huff. Mm-hmm. It's not called anything in particular. And if you happen to see me out, know me, or get into contact somehow, I'll be happy to welcome you as a friend. If you try to friend me and I don't know who you are, then I may or may not friend you.
Right.
But I post all of my gigs that way. We have a list of fans who we'll send out messages to when we're playing.
Right.
And a great local resource is Sopine Scene.
Uh-huh.
If you could just go to the internet and type, or you can go to Facebook and type Sopine's Scene. They have their own page, and on that page they show almost all of the local venues and who will be playing there on any given weekend. So, it's a wonderful resource. And typically, a lot of the places we play, they do cover. Some of the places we play, they don't cover. Mm-hmm. But heart and soul, if you look enough, you'll find us.
Okay. Yeah. And that's how people get their information these days, online.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's funny. We talked about some of the musicians we listened to growing up. Judy Collins was one of them. I mean, you're talking about the late 60s, early 70s. She's going to be at the Sunrise in May.
It's amazing.
Right? You remember her beautiful ballads and, I mean...
Well, I mean, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes.
Yes.
That's her.
Yes.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
That's right.
Yeah.
I tell people I went to the Fillmore East when I was a junior
Wow.
junior in high school, and the girl that went with me only went with me because I had tickets. She didn't like me. We went to see Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Oh man!
And it was in I'm afraid to say it 1970, the Fillmore East, and we got to hear Crosby, Stills, Nash, and then when Neil Young joined them.
Yeah.
To this day, you can hear Neil Young music.
Sure.
It's crazy.
These guys, they're all still recording.
They are.
You know, Doobie, everybody's still recording.
Right.
And it's almost like a new wave of that.
Yeah,
I
agree.
course, it's almost like, okay, that's cool now. You know, let's all go back. And these guys are all touring. But it's because of our demographic. You know, we're the people
That's right.
who have been through all of it.
That's right.
And now, you know, some of us have the financial resources to go see a concert.
I remember Jethro Tull.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him in concert in Roanoke, Virginia in 1972.
Oh, man.
He opened the show. I had never been. And he said, we're going to open up with a new song. And he played for 40-some-odd minutes, the opening. It was called Thick as a Brick.
Yeah. I've got that album.
It just came out.
Yeah.
And that was his opening song. And then he went into his concert.
Mm.
To this day, I'll listen to Jethro Tull. And Ian Anderson is all over the internet. He's doing a tour this year in Europe with some classical musicians and with his flute in hand. And they do some classical versions of some of the songs that they performed back in the 60s and 70s. It's crazy.
Yeah, that music was very folk-oriented, and, you know, it drew directly from that scene, and you can hear it all through it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, his mastery of the flute, it's wonderful. I mean, I love those guys, too.
Yeah.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Aqualung,
That's
one of
right.
the greatest guitar solos. I mean, it's...
See, that's coming from you as a qualified musician. I just say it sounds good, but you can listen to it and know how intricate it was and how well played it was.
And it was very well played.
Yeah.
That's one thing I know we're getting kind of short on time, but
Yeah.
virtuosic playing was a real thing back in those days. And it's much less of the thing these days.
Right.
You don't have to, the music is simpler.
Right.
A lot of what you hear is not really performance. It's something manipulated,
That's
which is
right.
okay.
That's right.
But you don't have to be a really good musician to go in and whatever. So that's another way music is devalued to some degree. Now, you're always going to have your good players, but so much of what you go out and hear these days is very simple.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm saying you don't hear much virtuosic playing like you used to. Bands were hot.
What you're saying is you're a purist, and you would try to adhere to the music as a purist, and that's what you honor and I guess bring forward today.
Well, that's really had to go. I really had to change my perspective on that. When I was playing in the club bands, we were copy bands, and we copied.
Right.
Well, now you might go hear something, and they're not even trying to copy it, and I've quit trying to copy it. We just play.
Hey, Ron, it's been great to have you on and to have you share your perspective. and your enthusiasm definitely comes shining through. And so I'm hoping a lot of people get to hear this and listen to some of the music that you and your partner are playing.
Please come out. You'll like it.
And you go to Sopines, that's where the...
Sopines Scene.
Sopine Scene.
Yep.
We
Look in there. Sometimes you have to fiddle around a little bit, but they'll put it in a calendar form. I mean,
Yep.
A list form. It's easy to interpret.
Ron Huff, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's been a real lot of fun.
Perfect timing for the spring and summer season coming up. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.